Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Mercy Opara from Nigeria, welcoming us to the 11th Symposium of Atlantic International University. I just want to use this opportunity to thank God for life of every one of us, and also thank Atlantic International University for this great privilege and the opportunity of being a student. And Dr. Edward Lambert, I cannot thank you enough. So having said this, here we are. This is me, Mercy Ebrechukwu, currently doing my doctorate degree in education with AIU. I hold masters in business administration, business educational administration and planning, bachelor's of arts in education, bachelor's of arts also in Bible theology, amongst other diplomas. So I'm happy to be here. Actually, what has propelled me for this presentation is my life history. I'm someone who was born in a village from the eastern part of Nigeria, who was also affected by the civil war, 3-year civil war. And after the war, my parents tried as they could to register me in primary school, from there to secondary education, which after is like there was no more hope for education. But one thing my parents did is they planted that faith in me that with God, nothing is impossible, which is a legacy. So I'm a product of legacy. And that has molded my life over years. That each day I just see legacy, not just for future generation, but each day that whatsoever that comes out of us is a legacy. It could be positive, it could be negative, because there are people who may meet us just for a day in their lifetime and they will never meet us again. And even the presentation I am making today, there are people who might not have access to it. So, but what happened between I and them when we met, I termed it to be legacy. So having done that, my focus had been to inculcate in youths the optimism for life, that they are born for signs and wonders every day, each day, and any country I have been to. Because we find that the life projects sometimes some difficulties, especially to youths and some vulnerable people and disadvantaged people. And youths think to take life as if there is no hope, if they cannot make it in life. But I always present my life as a legacy, that if by God's grace that I am where I am today, that they are also unstoppable. I take that time in forums, wherever I meet with them, to inculcate in them those positive behaviors that can help them to succeed in life. Advise them to denounce those negative attitudes, delinquent attitudes, which is terrorism, militancy, kidnapping, banditry, cultism, human ritual sacrifices, which also youths involve themselves into today, suicide, which also born a title of a book I'm yet to publish, that suicide is not a choice for life, because I've come in contact with some youths who, even married people who, because of marital problems or no job or no money or difficulties of life, they just decided to take their lives by themselves. So I always advise anyone that comes across me to build their nation, build their family, build their own life, build their society, build their generation, and don't destroy. I also advise them to contribute to nation building, because a tree cannot make a forest. If I present my own contributions or make my own contributions, positive contributions, and you make your own, the father does, the mother does, the children do, then our societies will be a better place for one. I also talk about protection of life and property, taking cognizance of what we are seeing all over the world today, that people no longer place value on lives and properties. And I also advise people in my forums, in my little forums, you can see a picture down. This one is also for this week. Maybe people who were into drug or smoking or thinking that life is no longer bearable for them. Okay, having said that, that takes me to another one, which says right to education. And I have taken time to encourage people, both married people, youths, children, that education has no age limit. That if myself at the age of 40, I was able to register for my first degree, and at the age of 50, I was able to finish my master's. And now at the age of 60 years, after I had worked with United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, for almost 39 years and 4 months. Before then, I worked with private sector, and life was not really easy. As a young girl, I had to marry at the age of 21 years, 6 months. So I was reading, I was bearing children, I was working, and the work was so tasking that even Saturdays, Sundays, sometimes we were at work. But because education is life, and I have passion to learn from others, passion to be taught by others, passion to run my life, seeing and emulating good examples, I had to read. In the night, I had to read. In the day, I had to work. I wake up as a family with other social and religious responsibilities. So I've been encouraging others that if someone like me can be where I am today, reading for my doctorate with AIU, any other person can. And having said that, because instruction is life, to give subtlety to simple, the young man will have knowledge and discretion. And that takes me to the point 2 of the same education, that though illiteracy is very expensive and the ignorance is costly, but education can afford for them all. I took up also my feelings from 2003 when I was sent to Liberia after their 14 years war. And when we went out to one of the counties, and we found out that in 14 years, no child was in school, which means a child born at the starting of that war was 14 years, that illiterate. That also led a passion in me to advise my youth, like you will see wise men, you will see wise women, you will see youths, that education rules the world. When you're educated, you will rule your world. Even from what I've seen from other presenters today, that education strengthens relationship. That even in marriage, which I will get to, how people should interact with their enabling environment, with their immediate environment, with their society, is dependent on how educated they are. Because there's something we call illiteracy in education, that people might go through the 4 walls of classroom, but they come out and behave as if they never went through 4 walls of classroom, which we call illiteracy. But when you are literate, when you're educated, you will produce good leaders. You will feed your world with positive impact. You will hold the world with peace. You will have no barrier or enmity because we are all one. All these things come to be because people are not enlightened, they are not educated. Like I said, education qualifies all ages. If Mercy today at 60 or 61 will graduate as a doctorate degree holder of AIU, fine and good, and any other person can. Education has a language, and the language of education is positivity, is integrity, is trustworthiness. And education imbues respect for all cultures, irrespective of race. And education skills all generations. And that takes me to the next one, which says right to life. The fear of God is the
Mercy.
bedrock.
Mercy.
Yes, sir.
One of our participants, Aaron Boma, wants to ask a question. He has to ask it now because he's actually leaving soon from the office. So
Okay.
Aaron Boma, can you activate your microphone and ask your question?
Okay. Can I hear him?
I'm asking him to unmute his microphone. Here he goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Professor Lambert. Hello?
Hello, go
Your
ahead. We can
volume,
hear you.
please. Your volume, please.
Okay, do you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I'm so-called the Reverend Aaron Boma from all the way Tanzania. I'm also the student of AIU, Atlantic International University. My question is just very small. I need to know that what the today's youth can learn from our leaders, especially the religious leaders, because we know that each religion have their own views and they have their own things which they believe. So what things can be the common so that the youth, the next generation, can be able to know them and to follow them. Only that. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. I think your question is timely. Looking at the slide, you will see my message for the leaders, which I always tell people that everybody is a leader. Because if you don't have good followers, you won't have good leadership. Solomon in his wisdom said, if the leaders fail, that means their followers are wicked. So what my message to leaders had always been to be trustworthy and build trust also on their followers. My message to the leaders of today is also to drive for equity and equality. My message also to leaders today is to discourage racism, nepotism, tribalism, or whatever that discriminates against humanity. My message also to leaders is to stand for justice and judgment, because we have the greatest judge who will judge everyone. So my also message to leaders is that they also have eternity in view, because this is also a legacy. That whatsoever we have done here will not end here. That whatsoever I have done as a leader, you've done as a leader, they've done as leaders, they will be judged by it. So when we are conscious of that, that will help us in discharging our responsibilities in a positive manner. So my message to leaders is imbibe positivity, trustworthiness, integrity in everything you do, equity and equality, justice and fairness. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have understood very well. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Can I continue?
Yes, thank you. May continue.
Yes, please continue, Mercy.
Doctor,
Thank you
can
so
I
much.
continue?
Okay.
Thank you. So that actually takes me to the end of this slide. As I normally encourage people, even like today when I was counseling a young person in this place where I am, I had to encourage them when they came in with this Coke, Fanta, things that will boost their, sugar, salt in the body. Is also one of the eat well syndromes and the live well syndromes. Thank you. So that takes me to the next one, which talks about leadership. He just asked the question now. And that question had actually dealt with what I'm going to say now. Rights to good leadership from home, by parents, by siblings, by relations, by neighbors, then by the overall leadership in the country, by religious leaders. We are all leaders. And I said in my leadership experience, I have always believed that leadership is democratic in nature, free of nepotism, tribalism, racism, gender discrimination, corruption, and electoral malpractices. Because these are things we are seeing in the whole world today. But I have been a leader in my own little way, both in the office as president of staff association, which took me to regions, and also being a leader in my religious sect, which I'm still a president of women, taking care and impacting positive knowledge on women, on empowerment, empowering them on how to live their lives, live with their children, live with their husband, live with their neighbors, and also how to feed, how to make money to feed themselves, and how to be educated, amongst others. So a leader should lead with integrity, lead with trustworthiness, lead with care, lead with respect, lead with accountability, lead with empathy. What is happening today that you see the whole place, especially in Africa, Nigeria, where I belong, you see many people losing their lives daily, kidnapping, killing, ritual killings, and all whatnot. These are signs of bad leadership. Leadership should have element of empathy, valuing lives and properties. Leadership with positive self-esteem. Inferiority complex also makes leaders to feel who is hunting them, they can undo. But when you have confidence in yourself and what you are doing is right, you don't have to be afraid of who is hunting you. Leadership with equity, leadership with love, leadership with successorship in mind. Like legacy we are talking about today. Legacy is like successorship. What am I leaving for future generation? It is a legacy. How did this person lead? It's a legacy. Because of time, then we go to right to lasting relationship. And this talks about marriage. In my counseling experience, God has helped me to reconcile families. Even the latest one is a family of 20 years. There had been no peace. The man was crying. His mother was crying. The wife was crying. The children had no peace. But as a legacy, God helped us to reconcile them. And they left our house with laughter. Even though I've left the location back to my base, he calls me, he greets me, he thanks me. That means that's a legacy I have left for them. And that shows that even in my counseling experiences, both here and elsewhere, that when you make marriages to stand, couples to love themselves without divorce, you are leaving a legacy. So that's what marriage should be a pride of children raised in such union. We have children littering around today as if they don't have parents. This is not good. And that's why I encourage couples to take care of their children. Marriage should be a lift in couples' destiny, not to run them down. This is also one of the legacies I leave for people. Marriage should bring glory to God who instituted it in the Garden of Eden. And that led me to write 2 books already on Amazon, among the books, which I also encourage people to go download to read to help you. Books on marriage. That takes me to write to be resourceful. I normally encourage people in my little fora to denounce laziness. Both parents, children should be taken good care of. They should labor with their hands to train their children, to send their children to school, to give them shelter, good life that the children desire. They should be an asset and not a liability, because a liability left for the present generation constitutes nuisance for the future generation. So that could be also a legacy. To work with their hands, be creative and innovative, to provide and not to take only, to lend and not to borrow always. Like in my country, sorry to say, we are a borrowing country, but God will help us to run a career and not accreditation, not to carry portmanteau of certificates, but behaving like an illiterate. Okay, that takes me to an important one again, which I normally advise fathers: be a father and not a feather. And to mention that this was also delivered in one of the schools in June in their graduation ceremony. So I normally encourage fathers to be fathers indeed. Work hard to be able to take care of their families, be prudent and save for their future generation, because it's a legacy. Solomon said a good father leaves inheritance for his children. Even Paul commended it. So fathers should also be creative and innovative. I normally encourage them to be friends to their children. Some fathers today don't know what is happening with their children. Some rape their children, such unfortunate. So I always use opportunity to advise fathers: be friends to your children and not enemies. Be a companion to your spouse. As a father, you are not just taking care of your children, but also your spouse, so that both of you will live long and see your children. I'm also a grandmother of 8, and I'm happy to God. Be a mentor and not a Methodist, because I have realized in my counseling ministry that what is difficult for people is just change. Change, very difficult to change. Selecting the kind of job they will do, they remain idle. Be a provider and not a consumer, and be a caring dad and a spouse. That takes me to the next one. We said, right to be a mother and not a mother. If you look at my presentation, you will see a parrot. When I went to Liberia in 2003, immediately from the airport, there was a signboard which says, a bad word is more destructive than a bullet. And I marked that word. And I normally encourage mothers, don't be a parrot. Use your mouth in wisdom. Mother means multiple obligations to her expanded regions. You are not being a mother just for your immediate family, but for your entire community, even your generation as a whole. So for that, you should be resourceful. You should gain the heart and trust of their husbands. They should strive to do him good and not evil. They should seek wool, ensure that there is food, support the man. Hello? Hello, I'm hearing a voice. Ensure there is food. Mothers are to support their husbands, not to make him to overlabor himself and die on time. Care for your house helpers and medians. Invest on your children and be strong and take a rest when tired. Even after this presentation, I will take a rest. My grandchildren had come around. They said they need to see me. I said, after this presentation, I'll be with you by 8 p.m. Right to be a caring mother. Seek peace and kindness. Live to gain the praise of both your children and your husband, even your neighbors, I add. Be a role model to your daughters in excellence. Project a godly example of good character. This is what I tell mothers. Like I told you, I'm a president of women in a district. Leave a positive legacy for your future generation. Even as mothers walk into this place, which I got as a retiree to be able to reach out to my society, I also tell them that. For children, be a child and don't be childish. Every child brings hope, joy, and happiness to the family and the society the day he or she was born. Bible says, lo, children are inherited from the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is our reward. So children today that are in chaotic societies, out of school, though some of them not, is out of their own making, peer pressure, maybe societal influence, they find themselves as children victim of circumstances, but notwithstanding, bring a gift, be a gift and a reward. Every child is a potential child. Develop that potentiality in you, God has given to you. Be the joy of the parents, society, and your generation. Be a builder and not a destroyer. Be a success and not a failure. No child can fail. Every child is created for signs and wonders. And I normally tell them that you need to be optimistic. Even today, you need to be optimistic. You need to believe that you can make it. And with God, we're learning from people, with exposure, with good people, you can make it. Be a light and not darkness. Be an instrument of positive change. Rule your world and don't ruin your world. Because many children today, they go on smoking, they carry gun, it's all over, they can kill, they ruin their world. And that takes me to the final aspect of my presentation. I normally partner with non-governmental organization, Rescue Africa Initiative, to go out for social work. We visit hospitals, we give them food, we give them items to use, and share money maybe to subsidize their hospital bills for those who cannot afford it. We also go to schools like this week, we were in this school where you see children on the floor, and you have children whose parents just dumped them in the school, no exercise book, no pencil, no Bible. So as a retiree, I've seen the need to help others. I've seen the need to ensure that children who are underprivileged will be educated. This is, I and my husband, we visited one of the government schools and presented exercise books to them. You can see it. So we support some children who get admission, no money to pay for acceptance fee or school fees, whatever our hands can reach. I do with my husband. We sponsor in acquisition. If a child wants to acquire any skills, maybe catering or whatever, so we also support. Hello, like I said, according to my life history, I presented this book, Life is a Journey, and Overcoming the Grips of the End Time. And last 3 weeks, a man came into this place. After counseling him, he said he didn't have money. I gave him a copy of this book. He came back with feedback, how the book ministered to him. When I also went to one of the countries, I gave this book. After some years, the person came to Nigeria as an international officer. We worked together, and she also gave me feedback about this book. So when I get feedback from people, sometimes I get a call, people will pick this, and they say, oh, I wanted to commit suicide because I won't be there. People will carry and just distribute. I will counsel them, I will pray with them and encourage them that life is still meaningful, that when there is life, there is hope. And that's my legacy, and that's my legacy, and that's my legacy. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mercy, for all of that insightful information. I think everybody was very inspired. There was a lot of comments about thank you, about your faith, about your ideas. So you've published several books, as you have shared with us, that are on Amazon, like you said. What advice would you give other students that want to be published? I asked this before of another presenter, but I know a lot of people have that goal. So what advice would you give to people?
What advice I have for people that want to publish books?
Yes.
Yes, like even in this my place, a woman, because I put a signboard there, online publishing. So when they read it, they come in. Like a woman came and said for years, she had the vision and passion to publish books. She has a lot of drafts, but she has not been able to know how to go about it. Then I encouraged her, I told her, gather your drafts. I can assist you to review it. I have already published books on Amazon, free of charge. I can help you to publish. And there are some other people that I have even paid for. They went for online publishing training after I did mine.
Yeah,
Thank
someone
you.
said in the comments, like, what are the steps for publishing? What would you say are the steps?
Okay, the steps of publishing the books. Okay, you must have a passion first, because writing is an inspiration. You don't just write. So when the inspiration comes, you jot it down. You don't lose anything. You don't lose any idea. Then after you have gathered them, to get to a quantity, you can type them, make them a draft. I can help to review, to proofread it for you, and arrange it for you in chapters that you'll be able to launch it even in Amazon, because I've done that. I went through the training and I've launched out to this year on Amazon. So these are the processes.
Yeah, so it's basically just get it on paper.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I'm seeing, okay, call them.
Sorry. You also mentioned that you worked at the United Nations for over 40 years. Here at AIU, as you know, we're very big on human rights, which you spoke a lot about. What steps do you think everybody can take to ensure that their human rights are being respected and that they are living their life with those rights?
Fine and good. United Nations and UNICEF in particular is the core preacher of human rights and child rights. So we uphold it to an extreme, It's not contestable. Every human being has the right. So even when I was a leader, there were some measures we took, like speak up culture, enabling every individual to speak up of whatsoever that is discomforting you within the working environment. And you have your rules and regulations, and nobody can make you to derail or to do what is against your right as a woman, your right as a man, because a man also has a right. So everyone's right must be respected. Even all the countries that I went to, because I went to many countries, even New York, to train staff members and also to work on our system, is the same. Even as staff association president, in our regional meetings, we normally sing it and sang it and preach it. Your right is your right. So I hail UN, United Nations, for that. I hold and hail UNICEF for that.
Thank you.
I give them kudos.
Yes, they're doing a great job, and we hope to resonate that with all of our students and everything that they do. We have a question from some of our participants. Andre, do you have a question for Mercy? Andre? We have another question. Go ahead. You can unmute with your mic.
Hi, please, can I talk?
Yes, go ahead.
Ok, compañerita Mercy, felicitaciones por tu hermosa inspiración que usted este momento sea compartir con nosotros. Muchísimas gracias. Estoy muy contento, muy contento con todos que tú estás compartiendo con nosotros. Ahora mi pregunta es, congratulations to you, dear Mercy.
I said, thank you.
All right,
Merci,
congratulations
merci.
to you, Mercy. Okay, you've done a very good job. Honestly speaking, I'm very inspired. I'm telling you, I'm very inspired. Good. Now the Bible says in Proverbs, that train up a child where he or she goes, develops, will not depart from that. I know that, no doubt about what the Bible says. But my question is this. There are a lot of pastors, there are a lot of books that have been inspiring students, so many things. But the students or children of these days, they are very unacceptable. You cannot even accept them. You cannot even look at them. Looking at our society, there's a whole lot of problems going on, armed robbery, stealing, and those kind of gambling, etc., etc. As a man of God or woman of God, what do you think education, here I'm talking about education, and the community. So what do you think education can play more part? And more on a serious note, what religion can play major parts concerning the kind of problems of these youths? I mean, what the youth is being into it these days. I don't know if my question is very clear. Hi, Sister Mercy. Can you hear me properly?
Thank you. Just delinquent behaviors that we have today all over the world. Yes. So actually, education means imparting knowledge, formal and informal. Like you mentioned, Proverbs 22:6, train up a child in a way he will go. When he grows, he will not depart from it. So education by parents is vital. Even no matter what is happening in their societies, in their peer pressure, societal pressure, that thing you have inculcated, the fear of God you have inculcated in the child will always drive the child back like a prodigal son. So both in our religious sectors, in the schools, it's just like that yesterday when we went to one of the schools, they gathered the students. I began by telling them about the value system that is crashed, but they cannot depend because my mother didn't teach me. I have the phone, I can search for things myself, but your life, you are ruining your life. It's not about your mother, it's not about your father, it's not even about your uncle, but it's about you. You are created for signs and wonders. So education means imparting that hope and positive optimism in the children, that whether they're in the Western world or Southern world, or African world, they will know that when they are living on delinquent behaviors, that they are just ruining their lives. Am I communicating? So
yeah, it's very clear.
Like in August, when we went home to my village and took my grandchildren home, I engaged the zealous Christian professionals. It's a forum. I engaged them, one from New York, one from Zimbabwe. I connected my system in the church for the youths, for them to be counseled. And I also counseled both the fathers, the mothers, the youths, even on their health, because these things they take also is detriment to their health. All these drugs they take, they are detriment to their health. So that is also part of education. So when we go to our communities and start with our small environment to educate people, educate our families, educate our neighborhood, educate the society, whether religious society, whether the office, or wherever we transact our businesses, that will go a long way. Education is the solution. Thank you.
All right. My second question, is very clear. It's very clear. Thank you very much for the explanation and everything. Okay, good. Now, my second question is: do you agree Do you agree to this phrase that whoever is 18 years has the right to make his or her own decision? That when someone is 18 years has the right to make his own decisions and everything it takes to be. I've lived in Latin American country for the past 4 years, and I've been witnessing so many kind of things here. Okay, good. Now the first thing is, when a child is 12 years old, that 12 years old is going out with a guy. I'm having a boyfriend. Si cuando una tiene 12 años, deberá salir con un amigo, una persona, o empezar con un noviazgo. That when a person is 12 years old, start have a boyfriend, going out and those stuff. Good. That one is something else. But when a child also reaches the age of 16 years, that child, many a times here, what I'm seeing here, 16 years old, is very difficult for a mother to even control a child at the age of 16 years. 16 years. So what I'm asking is this. We are talking about nation, UN, because AU is not about UN giving freedom and justice to all, country membership to study, to get more knowledge and other stuff. And in there, they have gotten so many kinds of, programs that have been running up. So what do you think, or do you accept and agree with it, that the notion that when a child is 18 years old has the right to make his or her own decision? Do you agree to that? For me, I'm having much problem about that.
Yeah, thank you. Either I agree or not, the society had made it so. But then, because of that benchmark, that should be a pointer of legacy for parents and the elderly to take them young. Because if you miss them young, you miss them at 18 as adolescents. But when you catch them young, you get them, you gain them at 18. That's my answer because of time.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you. God bless.
We have another question. Maureen, can you unmute your mic for your question for Mercy? Maureen?
Mine is not a question. I'm just endorsing everything that Mercy has said. It's very, very valuable. It's very workable, and it's very informative and educational. And that's what I want to say today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mercy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's see, do we have any other questions?
Thank you, Maureen.
No. There was just a lot of comments. Mercy, just thanking you for your presentation.
That's good. That's good.
For your information.
You also, yeah.
Can
yeah,
you
welcome.
mute your mics, please? Thank you. So thank you so much, Mercy, for your insight and for your presentation. Just one last question. What's next for you? Now that you've retired from the UN, you've written books, you help in your community, what are your future plans?
My future plan, like I said, I still have a book, maybe to write more, yet to be published on suicide. Suicide is not a choice, okay? Another plan is to continue in my charitable activities, social work. Another plan is how I can get into schools to be counseling students, just like the last question, in order to help to get them young. So getting into schools as a counselor, that is also one of my plans. Okay.
Yeah, it's great that you work with the youth. We've heard a lot of our presenters and their legacy, they work with the youth because that's really, they're the ones that can carry on that legacy and show other people. Like you said, you have 8 grandchildren, so you have it right away in your home. What else can we do as AIU colleagues to help our youth to be successful? We see, Dr. Patricia wrote a book, Dr. Miriam works with language. We saw Dr. Priska, she works with the environment, you work with the human rights. What else do you think we could do as a collective to help our youth be more successful and not, like you said, fall into lazy patterns, but really go out there for their dreams?
I didn't get your last statement.
That what can we do as a collective to help our youth kind of go after their dreams and not settle?
Great. What I will do to help AIU, right? My contributions to AIU is a request. You have my profile, you have my legacy, any aspects you need my support for the undergraduates and those yet to come. Like I've already recommended a student from Nigeria to read in AIU, and I still recommend more. I will still recommend more. So these are aspects that I want to support AIU. So I'm available and accessible.
Thank you. Thank you. No, we're very honored to have you as a AIU participant in everything that you do. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, and everybody was very inspired by all of your entire presentation. So thank you so much, Mercy. Is there anything that you want to say to everyone before we finish with your presentation?
What I just want to say is to thank everybody, both our colleagues who have made wonderful presentations and those who are yet to make, and especially AIU for helping me to fulfill my self-fulfilled prophecy to be
Yes.
a doctor. I thank you. I thank everyone. I thank you all. I'm grateful.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mercy. So that concludes Mercy's presentation. Edward, you can stop the recording.
Yeah, I will send it.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Dr. Edward, are you here?
I am here. It looks like we still have another 25 minutes or a half an hour till the next presentation. Is that correct?
Yes. We started a little early. Is the next presenter not ready?
The next presenter is here and ready. We have more time for questions and answers if you want to take more time.
Okay, we can do that.
Okay, then we can start maybe in about 15, 20 minutes for the next presenter.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, should I continue to record?
No, I think we should stop.
Okay.